Joining us in studio is the British political commentator Tom Gross. And Tom, you were also assigned one of the signers of that letter, and you also helped gather some signatures for it. Just explain how that came about.
Well, firstly, I want to say that a letter calling for boycott of Israeli and Friends of Israel literature is not the worst thing in the world. It's not like the Iranian nuclear threat.
Sure.
However, because there's worldwide anti-Semitism in all walks, and because books in particular resonate because of course, the famous Nazi burning and boycott of Jewish authors, there was a feeling that something had to be done. So a counter letter was put together very quickly last week by people in London and Los Angeles. I know the people in London. We all gathered as many signatures as we could. If you don't mind me saying, I think our letter has far more prestigious writers and authors than the letter calling for the boycott of Israeli cultural literary institutions. That letter, even though the Jewish Telegraphic Agency said it was 1,000 giants of literature, actually maybe half a dozen were semi-giants, let's say. The others were not so well known. But I don't think we should let this stand. 9 years earlier, there was a similar attempt to boycott. There was a similar letter to boycott Israelis, and there was a counter letter then. At that time, it made headlines because J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, was one of the prime signatures. But the difference between now and 9 years later is there's much more anti-Semitism. Israel and the Jewish people are under sustained attack in every walk of life, from academia to the streets of London, Paris, universities in the United States, and so on. And also, the whole world of cancel culture has advanced a lot.
Well, let me ask you that, because yes, there were, you said there's some well-known names on that boycott letter. Sally Rooney, for example, lesser known. But these are people that are willing to put their names on the letter. There's a much more perhaps insidious boycott or cancellation where people simply don't invite Israeli or Jewish authors who have spoken up in Israel. Academics have spoken out as a freezing of programs. Often the reasons are not given, or they cite security. So it's a much more dangerous and widespread phenomena.
That's right, Kalev. And in fact, the silent boycott, in a way, is more insidious, more dangerous. And it's not just of Israelis. For example, recently there was that well-known book reading by an anti-Zionist Jewish author who is going to be interviewed in Brooklyn by a liberal rabbi who would not denounce the entire of Zionism. And because he was going to be interviewed by some liberal rabbi that wouldn't denounce Zionism, that was enough for the supposedly progressive bookstore in Brooklyn to cancel a book reading of an anti-Zionist Jewish book. So it is silent and not so silent. It's very dangerous. It's all, in a way, they are the intellectual wing of the street mobs that we see in my native London every Saturday, closing down the centre of London, intimidating people with their pro-Hamas slogans and so on, and shouting and from the river to the sea and so on. But also, again, historically, if we go back to the beginning of the Nazis, and I'm not comparing the situation now with 1930s, but we have to nip in the bud any inkling that something will even head in that direction. In 1933, when Hitler came to power, it was a lot of intellectuals that supported Hitler. Universities, writers, some writers joined in with the burning of books by Jews like Einstein and Freud, even classical musicians. So one mustn't underestimate the racism or potential racism or demonization by intellectuals, as we've seen in some Ivy League universities in the United States.
So the letter is an admirable effort that was put out by these figures because they're putting their names on the line, and some of them may face blowback or cancellation. But what more than letters needs to be done, could be done, Tom, to counter a phenomenon that unfortunately seems to be spreading?
Well, there should be more naming and shaming of people like Sally Rooney. Sally Rooney, even before the Irish writer who was one of the biggest names on the boycott letter, even before the October 7th pogroms, she had already forbade her book to be translated into Hebrew. Now, boycotting a language, is she going to boycott Arabic because Arab countries don't have perfect human rights records? In fact, she might as well not have her books published in any language, including English, because I could pretty much name some border dispute or human rights violation of 95% countries in the world in one way or another, or at least languages. So it is, whatever they want to say, it's racism, it's anti-Semitism, it's not kind of virtuous care about the Palestinians. If they cared about the Gaza or the Palestinians, they might be also making a protest outside the embassy of Qatar in London, or the consulate in New York, or Turkey, which houses Hamas, or many other places. Instead, people like Sally Rooney probably like going on vacation to Turkey. I doubt if she even knows that Turkey occupies a European Union member state, half of Cyprus, and settles it with Turkish settlers. You know, if she does know, she doesn't seem to care.
All right. Well, hopefully, admirable to see that letter put out, and hopefully even more people in the both Jewish community and non-Jews too. Many non-Jews, Lee Charles, for example,
many non-Jews
will also speak up as well to counter this. Tom Gross, thank you for joining us on Jewish World Weekly.
Thank you.